Corruption has been a major challenge facing not just Nigeria as a country, but Africa at large and even other parts of the world. Now, the anti-corruption crusade is a fulcrum for the agenda by President MUHAMMADU Buhari's administration. Now, measures against this menace have been established by many African countries, other institutions across the globe to take it beyond the traditional approach of fighting fraud. Now, there is a use of forensic audit, bringing on more scientific, analytical, as well as meticulous discovery and detection of corruption in all strata. Now, this is to help curb financial recklessness and fraud. How foolproof is this really in its entirety? And how is this being employed as a veritable tool? Nigeria Today focuses on forensic audit as a veritable tool in the anti-corruption crusade. Welcome to the program. My name is Blessing Abu. Now, with me in the studio to take a look at this aspect of fighting corruption, discussing forensic audit, we'd like to welcome first to my far left, Dr. Victoria Aishetu Enape. She's the pro-tem president, Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors of Nigeria. Madam, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
We also have in the studio Professor Oladipupo Additional, who is also the pro-tem council member, Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors of Nigeria. Welcome to the program, Prof.
Thank you very much.
Now, exactly, let's attempt defining this. We know auditing, this is one aspect of accounting, finances, and all of that. But now when you now get to add forensic, what exactly are we trying to do here?
Well, forensic and investigative auditing is one of the worldwide leading forensic organization, anti-fraud organization, that is saddled with the responsibility of giving skills to relevant professionals in the use of science and technological tools to prevent fraud, detect it, and investigate if it eventually happens.
Okay.
And also put in place some mechanisms, sophisticated indeed, to prevent future occurrence. This is what our organization is all about. But coming to forensic audit, like you mentioned, I would like to say that forensic audit is an understatement. Ours is forensic and investigative audit. This is accounting, plus auditing, plus law, plus science and technology. These four put together makes up what we call forensic and investigative audit.
Okay.
And that is why our members cut across other professions like law, criminologists, police detective, accountants, etc.
So this is more like way more advanced than what an accountant ordinarily would do, or an auditor in an accounting unit would do. So it's employing more. Tell us more about how this method is being, or how imperative for us to use this method today.
Thank you very much, the moderator. The use of forensic technology in examining incidents of fraud, corruption, requires not only accountants, but forensic technologists, other professionals who are concerned with the problem of fraud and corruption, to find a lasting solution to the problem of fraud and corruption. It is an integration of all these techniques of accounting, auditing, criminology, law, as well as information technology to examine, analyze, and provide solution to the problem of fraud and corruption.
Now, we're told that this forensic and investigative audit, it's a paradigm shift, really, on the global scene from the traditional accounting. How deep is this skill for everyone who is to go into it or professionally go into it? How deep is it helping us in times like this in our country?
That really is deep in the sense that haven't known or haven't realized that fraudsters have gone sophisticated. They now engages science and technology to perpetrate fraud, which is impossible for the traditional auditing to find out the fraud committed by these people. Forensic audits now who use or make use of science and technology now can use the same thing to track fraud. What I mean here is that fraud committed with the use of science and technology cannot be tracked with biro and paper. You need to come up with science and technology to track fraud that has been committed with science and technology. In that case, whoever that wants to come up to look at fraud or to investigate fraud or to put in place some things to prevent fraud must be able to have these skills of forensic and investigative audit, meaning that the use of science and technology is key here. And this is what has not been on ground in the past. And that is the reason fraud and corruption has taken this level in our country. That is the reason we are being put at this level of one of the most corrupt nations in the world. It's not as if the normal audits refuse to see fraud, but they become unable, it became inadequate to see fraud that has been committed with the use of technological tools.
So how foolproof would this be if you say, okay, the other traditional means were kind of inadequate? Do you foresee such inadequacies coming up with this? After all, they're still the same professionals who have already led us. Professor?
Well, let me say at this point that traditional auditing primarily is not about fraud investigation. An auditor, financial auditor in particular, has a mandate to examine financial statements and express opinion as to the true and fair view of the information contained therein. However, if fraud is suspected, it is the responsibility of the auditor to alert the clients. Okay. And that is now in the position of the client to know whether he wants to carry out the investigation of that. However, the traditional auditor does not have a direct mandate to carry out a fraud investigation.
Okay, now that means now this body that is a forensic investigators, auditors and investigators as a body, now you're seeking the mandate to actually go into this. I know this bill was presented sometime in December. Was read through the first reading, and what's the position today?
Well, in December 21st, the bill was read the first time on the floor of the Senate. On 31st of January, it passed through second reading. And on 14th of April, the public hearing was held. And this particular bill got overwhelming support of the public. And on 5th of July, the bill scaled through third reading at the Senate, waiting for concurrence by the House of Rep.
Okay, so till this moment, that is where it is.
That's where it is. By the grace of God, we believe that they need everything will be fine.
Okay. So how does this forensic auditing as well as the investigation, I know you've taken time to explain some of the things it's expected to do. Now, cutting down corruption or cutting down aspects of fraud and other aspects, how would it help really to deal with that issue?
Yes.
You could cite any example that you've seen around.
Forensic and investigative audit or auditors have come to take away opportunity. By the time we have succeeded in taking away opportunity of committing fraud in various organizations, it will be difficult for fraudsters to commit fraud. That's number one. Number two is that by the time we train these people that we are training now, which we have been training as well, we will have enough people in various organizations that will be there to put in place some of these mechanisms that we're teaching them on the use of it, so that they can put it in place and prevent fraud, because prevention, they say, is better than cure. The problem we have in this country is that we'll sit down and fold our hands until money is being taken away, until fraud is being committed, then we start running after the people. And there is no way you can prosecute these people without evidence. But with forensic and investigative audit, you'll be able to come up with evidence that can be used to prosecute these fraudsters. So by the main knowledge that there is a forensic auditor in an organization, make fraudsters to be scared. They will not even go try fraud.
I know sometimes over the time it's a matter of people being impatient with whatever system that is trying to check corruption or check some tendencies, malfeasance like that. Usually how long will this take? Let's say you have an investigation to actually carry out that will still help the government to address this issue. Usually, how long will this be?
It takes time. It depends on the nature of fraud, because you're going to follow it step by step, looking for evidence, because evidence is the problem we're having. If you don't have evidence, no matter the billions that have been taken away, or no matter the level or the height of fraud that have been committed, you cannot hold anybody. So
will it not get frustrating at a point, because those usually when people actually go on such investigative spree, they actually meet with brick walls from officials of this one. Are you hoping to cut on that?
Okay. Well, I think one of the major problems.
What problems do you foresee?
Problems, no, that bedevil fraud investigation or prosecution or corruption prosecution is the immediate trial. By the time you suspect a person for fraud or corruption, you have not even commenced investigation. You're already in the air. How will you expect that suspect to still remain without doing something to conceal evidence?
Such evidence.
And prosecution, investigation, they are all evidence-based. So whether you'll be able to succeed in your prosecution or your investigation depends on how much evidence you have. So if once we suspect somebody of fraud or corruption, we should take time, carry out investigation before we make it public, so that the necessary evidence can be gathered, and then we can go ahead prosecuting.
Maybe such would now be what you have contained in your own laws, or that is the bill you're putting before, because sometimes too, such bodies also require, or they seek such media publicity from time to time to know, or for them to show that they're actually doing something. Maybe that's where you need to do some of those checks as well, checks and balances as well.
Yes, because when they are trained, they will know the essence of gathering evidence and keeping the custody of evidence until the final determination of the matter in the court of competent jurisdiction. So rushing to the media will not help the matter. Because if, for instance, you are suspecting that I am involved in a fraud or embezzlement, and I have the proceeds in one of my accounts, and you have not commenced investigation, try to gather evidence, before you begin to do that, I may decide to move the money. And before you know it, or concede the evidence, so that it becomes practically impossible for you to get the necessary evidence when the time arises.
Okay, Dr. Edape and Professor Additional, when we return from this break, because we're going on a break now, we'll take a look at those areas that you might be having collaborations with other institutions that are already in this fight against corruption. How helpful will be if there are divergent views already, and if there are convergent points. We'll find out from you after this break. You're watching Nigeria Today, and our focus is on forensic audits as well as investigative aspects on the anti-corruption crusade. How veritable is this tool for us? We'll be right back after this break.
The Nigerian Television Authority News 24 channel, your dependable all-round news station, offering you world-class news programs, documentaries, spotlights, promos, and information highlights. Take advantage of our network reach and advertise your interest goods and services with us. NTA News 24. First equals with digital broadcasting. You can reach us on Channel 21 Terrestrial TV and Channel 101 on the StarTimes platform. For more inquiries, please call Coretta 0803 618 9986 or hang on 0803 379 0884. Join us today.
Welcome back. The program is Nigeria Today, and my guest is still stated, Dr. Victoria Enape. She is the pro-tem president, Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors of Nigeria, and also Professor Ladipopo Adeshina, also the pro-tem council member of the same institute. Now, Prof, let's get back to you. I know there are collaborations, and you talk about membership being drawn from all the different professions, law, criminology,
police
detective. Okay, we know exactly. Now, you have all of them because you need to employ all of this to actually work on the psyche and also the
question.
Okay, all right. How much of collaboration do we have with some of this? But of course, I know already the police, they have their own units, investigate some of this one. We know we have the EFCC too, still linked. We have other anti-corruption bodies. So how are you tightening up this loose ends in all your activities and your different functions?
Yeah, we are getting there. Currently, or before now, we'll be having our training at the EFCC Academy Caro. Okay. It means that we're together. Then our first annual conference that was held was also at the EFCC Academy Auditorium. So
wouldn't there be duplication of function, like some other bodies are already protesting against your coming up?
Not really. For EFCC, it's not duplication of duties at all, because there are anti-fraud, agencies. Is it anti-fraud or anti-corruption? Anti-corruption agencies. And we are forensic and investigative auditing.
They could tell you it's semantics.
Exactly. I want you to know something. That we are there to put in place some mechanisms to prevent fraud. By the time we prevent fraud, they will have less work to do.
Okay, so yours mainly to actually deal with the symptoms.
Yeah, prevention of fraud. And when it eventually happens, we have what it takes to investigate as well. Okay. And then we make use of science and technology to audit financial statements. Okay. Because fraudsters have diversified their...
They're highly sophisticated.
Exactly. And so we need to also diversify in a way of investigating this fraud.
Okay, while you were talking, something just played on my mind, and I know part of what the Minister for Finance, one of the other programs we run on the NTA, we talked about the TSA. Has this been able to checkmate, or would such function that you have be able to play some kind of goodie for them in public management, public finance management? Professor?
Yeah, accountability, transparency in finance is very, very essential. And that's one of the things that TSA has come to do, so that we can see all that goes in through the government cover. However, you know, before TSA came, a lot of loopholes that are responsible for corruption. Now that TSA has come, it has helped to cover up some of those loopholes, in a way complementing the spirit of forensic auditing, forensic and investigative auditing. Okay. Because ours is not just to investigate audit, because if you can prevent as much as possible fraud or corruption from occurring, it will be better for the system. Because one of the limitations of the traditional auditing is that, or traditional approach to fraud investigation, is that you have allowed fraud or corruption to take place before you start now looking for how did it occur, who and who were involved, and then what measure can you put in place to foster possible occurrence.
But that doesn't stop you coming in.
But if you have if you have forensic and investigative experts employed in organization, whether private or public, just like the president said earlier, they will help to detect incidents of fraud or corruption. Because fraud and corruption have some indicators that experts, once they see them, even before they occur, we call them red flags. Once you detect them, early detection, early warning will lead to perfection.
I'm glad you raised that aspect of red flags to some of this aspects to detecting fraud. Now let's get to the pro-tem president. How helpful have some of the findings been used in addressing some of these red flags across the nation, whether it's at the local government level, at the state level, at the federal level? Something definitely is wrong for everyone to be screaming corruption is eating deep into the society's fabric and we cannot survive it except everyone comes on board. How do you hope to use your body? And who can actually come and how can the public help you?
Yes.
All rolled in one.
What we are trying to do is to ensure that we give skill to Nigerians, many professionals, like we have been doing. Once we give skill to...
Free skills?
Skills, I mean,
free
training. Sometimes we give even free trainings, and then we train our members. Our members across the nation. We have members in these 36 states of the Federation, and even in the local government, even though there are not many yet, but we hope that in no distant time, we'll have many of them from there. But the only thing that will help us is when this bill is signed by the president, we will have muscle to enter into some of these areas called states, local governments, and then we will now train their agencies that will be there and form part of the units called Forensic and Investigative Audit Unit in some of these organizations. And then with that, fraud or what you call corruption will be minimal in various organizations, and thereby bringing back sanity into our system.
So in the time being, now that it's yet to receive the concurrence of the House of Rep, as well as the assent of the President, what are you doing in the temporary measure to actually help in the fight?
We are not relenting effort. What we are doing is the reason why we are having this conference tomorrow, because we don't want to rest until our bill is signed. And we don't want to fold our hand till that time. We'll continue to train them. We continue to train those that are ready to join. We continue to train our members so that when they go back to their places, they will become our eyes. We tell them that he that goes to equity must go with clean hands. And so as they go back to their places, they will extend this knowledge to their colleagues.
So as you await, okay, maybe Prof will take on that, as you await the assent to it, what is the buy-in of those at the subnational level? Of course, I just mentioned the state as well as the local governments. Since you're reaching out in the 36 states of the Federation, what's the buy-in into this?
Well, we are already promoting consciousness among the people.
And responsive.
And the response has been very encouraging, though we are not yet there. Particularly, our focus is also on the private sector, because fraud is not just public sector dependent. We also look towards where private sector organizations will sponsor their members, you understand, to become members of the institute, the employees to become members of the institution.
Yielding results?
Yeah, yes.
So that outcry for them, is it yielding results?
Yes, we are getting some responses from them. And we are not going to stop. We want every Nigerian to become forensically conscious. Even you, as media, must be forensically conscious.
So how do I do that?
Forensic consciousness is what all of us need now. Because whatever transaction we are doing now, we should have at the back of our mind that it may not end here. One day, there may be need to investigate it, to examine it, and may end in the court. Because when we talk of forensic, we talk of suitability for court purpose. So whatever function you are doing, recording, presenting your programs, you must have at the back of your mind that after now, should there be reason why this matter will be investigated and will end up in court, you will have reliable, credible evidence that with
so records must be clean and intact.
Yes.
That is
Yeah,
what.
so
Last one from Pro Tem
yes.
President as we go.
In our traditional accounting, there is what we call materiality and immateriality concept. But in forensic, everything is material. Even if it's half cover, it's material. That's why we said our own slogan is transparency in advance audit. Transparency in advance audit system that engender transparency, accountability in our nation. And so what I have to tell Nigerian, and you in particular,
Oh yeah,
is that
being investigated.
is that forensic is the current trend in the whole world. But we thank God that Nigeria is not left behind. Before now, government engages forensic auditors
from outside.
Oh, yeah.
So now you're here. So
and use our scarce resources to settle them. Hard currencies.
So now we'll be
Right
paying
now
you
we are
people
here.
right here and in
Yes,
local currency.
we want to
Thank
tell
you very
Nigerians
much.
to patronize Nigeria, to grow Nigeria.
We must fight this fight against
Yes,
corruption,
thank you very
certainly.
much.
Well, that's the program today. We want to appreciate Dr. Victoria Aishetu Enape, Pro Tem President, Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors of Nigeria. Thank you very much, Madam, for coming.
Thank you very much.
We'd also like to appreciate Professor Ladipupo Adesina, Pro Tem Council Member, Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
It was a delight talking with you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for watching. Tomorrow is another time, 7:30 in the evening, to join us for the program. Now, if you want to see this edition or any other edition at all, you can actually watch it online at www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. My name is Blessing Abu. Enjoy the rest of the day.